Mod your guitar.
Hello, welcome to part 2 of the video that shows you how to make a custom scratch plate, and this second video is in itself part of a larger series of Hot Mod Your Guitar videos which show you how to put together a custom guitar of your own. Enjoy! Hey, we're getting somewhere. Okay, now we've got the handle on, I can clamp the plate into position and start cutting. It's not exactly the most precise cut I've ever made, but it's all cut on the waste side, which means I can remove the remainder with a file, so that'll be fine. I'm now repeating the process to get the pickup cut out. It takes a bit more work because you're going from one point to the next and then round all 4 points. Best not to be rushed because you've really only got one shot at it. Okay, that's the first side cut through. Okay, and that's the pickup hole cut out. Just get the blade out there, and you can see we're getting there, aren't we? This stuff is a very abrasive paper, such as is used for sanding down floorboards, and you can buy it from builders merchants. This is actually 80 grade, which is very abrasive indeed. Now I'm taking a variety of objects. This is a reel of, guess what, masking tape. I always seem to be using masking tape, don't I? And if you hold the paper against it, the abrasive paper, you can then start to cut away at the plate, and it will leave you a nice professional looking curve. It'll take you ages, don't let me mislead you about this, but what you'll end up with will look really, really clean on those interior curves. Some of the curves that are a bit tighter, like these for instance, just find an object with a tighter radius. For instance, I've got here just a domestic plastic container, and that matches that curve quite well. On the outside radiuses, by the way, a flat file is quite a good tool, but best to use it kind of as flat as you can and go around the shape in continuous sweeps rather than kind of saw up and down, because otherwise you'll make some very irregular shapes. It is starting to come together, and in a minute I'll take it and offer it up, as it were, to the guitar body and just make sure that the curves I'm cutting really do fit the body of the guitar. I'm happy with most of the shape now, but I'm going to tidy up the bit that goes around the neck, because I'm using a rat tail file just to get in the corners and get them nice and round looking, in line with the profile of the neck itself. You have to kind of slide the rat tail about a bit because it's actually a tighter curve on the rat tail than on the neck, if you see what I mean. So you have to kind of stop it digging in, if that makes any sense. Hopefully it does. So what happened to the great outdoors? I'll tell you what happened to the great outdoors. It started raining on me, so I came in. Probably just as well in a way, because it's given me an opportunity to mate up the plate with the guitar body, and I can see that although the bit I've cut around the neck pocket is starting to look quite tidy, it just needs to look a bit more off, so that the end of the neck isn't resting against the plate, because ultimately that wouldn't do the plate a lot of good. This is one of those classic situations where if you're not sure whether you've really got a good fit, you're in some ways better off using your finger than you are your eyes, because I can feel that this is mostly level apart from just in this corner. For this stage of the job I'm working with a flat file from the template side of my plate. I've still got my cardboard template attached to the plastic, and I spent quite a long time at the drawing up stage making sure that this pickup cutout was correct. So if I work to the lines drawn out and cut out on the cardboard, then hopefully I shouldn't go too far wrong. I've got to the point where this edge and the opposing edge are about the right width for the pickup, and this edge and this edge likewise. What I've been doing though, if you can see, is I've been avoiding going too hard into the corners with the flat file, which has meant some pretty slow and careful filing work, particularly doing the top and the bottom like this, because it doesn't take much sliding about before you start to square off the corners. And I deliberately don't want to square off the corners because this pickup's got nice rounded edges, yeah, and therefore I want to get into the corners of the plate with a rat tail file and carefully, very carefully round those out. I'll do this one and then show you in close up, and then you'll get the gist of what I'm doing. For the sake of getting that sort of into shape, it was easier to use the big shaft of the rat tail file, but if I find, as I think I will, that that curve isn't quite tight enough, then I can just finish it off by getting in a little bit further with the sharper end, as it were. I can see by eye that the dimension this way is about right, but a little bit needs to come off here and a little bit needs to come off here just to get it wide enough that way. We're really talking about almost negotiating plastic off here. I mean, by that I just mean, you know, tiny amounts, see how it goes. This isn't the time for big file strokes or dramatic gestures. We only need to get, you know, possibly, you know, 0.25 of a millimetre off some of these dimensions. And it's not just about getting a good fit, it's about making it look nice clean lines, which is why I'm sloping the file slightly to increase my chance of getting a good straight looking line along there. Okay, you can see the width is pretty much right all the way along, and now these corners do need to be a bit tighter as I thought. So now I'm just using really the very tip of the file to get slightly tighter looking corners that will fit the pickup snugly. Well, I'm sure there is some computer out there that can cut this with greater accuracy than me, but I declare myself quite happy with that. I can now use the real pickup to mark those holes and drill them. I've wrapped masking tape around the entirely edge of this drill, so as I drill these holes through, it's only going to drill through the plastic at the end. It's not going to start stripping the thread on the pickup. These are just pilot holes that I'll then make holes to the right size later on. I'm going to draw myself a pencil line round each edge of about 1/4 of an inch in, so that when I actually place my screws and make the holes, they all look the same distance from the edge. Otherwise it's going to look a bit irregular, you know what I'm saying. Bear in mind we're going to put a bevel on this plate as well, so these won't look as far out from the edge as you think they might do. Okay, I can now see I'll definitely want a screw there, I want one there, I will, oops, I didn't do that one, did I? I'll be wanting one there, definitely just there. A little tip for you: when you're deciding where the screw holes should go, it's a good idea to reference back to the marks you made on the guitar, because some of them are quite, actually, some of the scratch plate edges are quite close to the control cavities, and it'd be a real shame if you put a screw hole just where there's no wood to screw into, because, well, it's pretty obvious why. But that's my suggestion. So there's definitely a screw that can go around here. Actually, let's make that 2, because I can see from this side what's possible. Okay, then there's plenty of meat on the body here, so I can, in the reciprocal places as it were, I can make and put a screw there. That's not going to be a problem. Now I need to be careful here because there are places where there just isn't any wood, so if I mark this area here is quite viable, if you like. This translates to, just try and mark it from underneath. It's just there on the scratch plate. Okay, so we'll have another one. And before you go drilling too many holes, a little tip for you. I keep a border scrap ply around because that way when I'm drilling I can put that on my bench, put yesterday's newspaper on top of that to protect the scratch plate, and then I can put the plate on top of that and drill with confidence knowing I won't go through my workbench. I've now made my holes through the scratch plate for the screws, but that's not really the whole job because normally your scratch plate screws, that's easy to say, isn't it? Your scratch plate screws are countersunk, and if you simply drill holes through they'll be sitting a bit proud like this one here. So what we need to do, naturally enough, is to put a countersink in there. I've actually just come up with quite a good way of burnishing the soft plastic to make sure that those countersunks, whatever, are good and tidy. Take yourself a big posi drive screwdriver, as opposed to a Phillips. A posi drive has quite hard or sharp edges to the blades, and then just give each hole a quick burnish. That will take any sort of surplus or flash off there, and without doing anything too dangerous. But you can probably see there's actually plastic coming away. I'm drilling the holes for the controls. It's quite possible you don't have a twist bit big enough for this job, but don't worry, you can always open the holes up with a rat's tail file, which is precisely what I'm going to do in a moment. Here's a pot. Actually I've opened this one out already, so that one goes through, this one doesn't. So you put your file in and you give it some of that. Okay, I've got the two pots and the jack socket in. I think this might be a good idea just to check at this point that it's actually going to fit the guitar, which it does. I want to put a Strat style switch here, and I think this is going to be one of the hardest parts of the job. I've marked one out on the template, but it's not terribly distinct now, so what I'm going to do is mark the two, where the two holes go. Take an existing Strat scratch plate and mark where the slot's supposed to go with a bit more clarity. Okay, these are the drill holes for the beginning and the end of the slot. Let's put some in between. A bit hard to see this. Okay, that's not too bad, look. Now I need to join them up. I think I'm going to use an X-Acto blade, but if you haven't got one of those, and you may well not, you could use, for instance, a hacksaw blade, a junior hacksaw blade. Just take it out of the drill, wrap some masking tape around one end to form a handle. You could do it that way. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you, just cutting this narrow slot with the X-Acto blade took me some time. What I'm going to do now is widen it using this needle file, which again is not going to be a quick job because I don't want to make a mess of it basically. Hey, looky here, we've got ourselves a slot and a sliding switch, and that is the point at which really I don't need the cardboard on the back, so as I only put this on with Pritt, I'm going to just soak this in some lukewarm water overnight. Chamfering the plate isn't the easiest process because it's really important that you maintain a constant angle, say 45 degrees, otherwise the plate sort of visually will seem thicker and thinner in places as the bevel either exposes more or less of the edge, if that makes any sense. If you think of a really shallow bevel, like so, that would give you a really thick bevel, whereas a really tight one gives you a thin bevel, and that's going to make the curves look all over the shop. So really you've just got to use your eye and try and get that angle as consistent as you can. And get that nice pinstripe effect, not only do you have to get the angle right, but you also have to make sure that you cut through not just the top layer but the second layer of the plate, so you get that kind of black accent line around the plate. It's about an hour later and I'm now quite happy with the bevels on my plate. I think it makes it look a lot more elegant, a lot more finished. All I'm going to do now is take some wet or dry paper. It doesn't particularly matter what grade, 600, 800, I've actually got 1000, which will take me a bit longer being that much finer. I'm just going to go around the edges of this thing and make sure that they're really smooth. Oh, God. Oh, God's sake.